Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Matthew Dunn, host of The Future of Email Marketing. And my guest today, I'm delighted to say, is Nicholas Einstein, product marketing guru of all things new at Cheetah and guy with an incredible amount of experience in the digital marketing space. Nicholas, welcome. I'm so glad to get you here.
Thank you, Matthew. Real pleasure to be with you today.
And you're talking from new space for you, pandemic move, right?
Indeed. Moved from the city out to the country. Now doing the island living. And, yeah.
Island living in the Pacific Northwest. Nothing better. We share that bias. Just to orient people off the top, would you fill in for folks a little bit? Role, company, and we'll delve into your history a bit because I got some notes on you, man. But
nice. Okay,
give some
great.
idea where you're coming from.
I love it. Yeah. So I currently run product marketing for Cheetah Messaging and Cheetah Experiences, as well as our engagement data platform, which is kind of the center of it all.
Yeah.
But have been doing that for about the past year plus. But again, have a history. I covered Cheetah previous to that, and was a practitioner back in the day as well.
That's right. What Nicholas is touching on there is like he's got over 15 years experience in the digital marketing space. I want to take you way back in your career because I noticed from your LinkedIn profile that you spent some of your early digital marketing days at Real Networks.
I did back in the day.
Wow.
Really, where I didn't cut my teeth on email, but I really took some big strides there. That was a great program. For those of you, I mean, you likely had a Real Player, Matthew, on your desktop.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Listening may not have, but we had a really big program. You know, upwards of 35 million people on our lists and a pretty active user base. So that was. Yeah, fun times.
I find I had overlapped. I mean, didn't work with him. He was in a whole different tier. But Rob Glazer was at Microsoft when I was at Microsoft in the '90s, and
Nice.
he was such a visible figure just because he's Rob Glazer that we pay attention to where he went afterwards. And
Sure.
now I look and like he was only 20 years early. I mean, aside from that, just bang on target, right?
Dude, and I will tell you, he was passionate about the email program too.
Was he really?
You could never. I mean, I got calls about a real super pass message not being targeted appropriately to the right audience. I mean, really, he was in the weeds, as many of those kind of, I think, highly successful.
Yeah,
CEOs.
well, that's what it takes. I credit him with having seen that media in a much richer sense would really make the shift onto the network, and I just don't think the network was there yet.
Oh no, no, it wasn't. It was it was interesting times, but they're still around now too. I mean, I think they're
A variety of things they do. And do I recall right? He rescued bowling.
He did. He did
Right.
the PBA, and in fact, I don't know if you were aware, but our building, our headquarters down in Seattle, right off of Elliott, there, right on the waterfront, had a bowling alley in the basement.
No kidding.
Yeah,
There you go. Like,
You could go.
I see your foosball table, and I'm going to raise you a whole bunch, pal.
Oh, I'm telling you, well, we had foosball tables too. Those
Of course, yeah.
were the cool days. It was, but the bowling lanes.
Bowling lanes, like that's
Oh.
that's a space and an acoustics commitment.
There we
Actually,
go.
that's kind of the acoustics where you were talking about your room acoustics. You got a bit of a
Yeah.
bowling alley thing going.
I think I got a very flat floor here too. I could probably.
You could, yeah, put a lane in there. Well, let me take you guys who are listening forward a little bit with roles in multiple companies since Real Networks, frequently covering email as well as other digital marketing channels. Most immediately prior to Cheetah Digital, you spent a good number of years where I read a bunch of your stuff at the Relevancy Group. Could you tell people what you did there a bit?
Indeed. Those were great years. We at the Relevancy Group did research and advisory services across kind of digital marketing. My partner there was David Daniels, who has a rich and deep history in the space. And so we worked with, as he used to like to say, everyone from Adobe through Zeta on kind of helping them with market requirements and understanding what to build, where to allocate resources, some talks about roadmap and that sort of stuff, and also worked with buyers of enterprise marketing technology. I believe you had on last week Chris Marriott, who was
he's coming. He had to bail because he got stuck in a drive in a snowstorm, but he's coming. Okay. Chris Marriott, friend of yours.
We got dumped on here. I know. You did too. But we also worked with buyers of enterprise marketing technology to kind of help them figure out their requirements and their needs, and ultimately the best vendors to help support them. So we worked on a lot of great projects, produced buyer's guides as well, and syndicated research. And so it was a great time. I was a chief research officer, and working with a lot of great big vendors, big programs, and a lot of great data flowing in, at least quarterly to kind of analyze and have fun with. So
I did want to ask you about that because it pertains to your role at Cheetah as well, but maybe even more of a flood in that CRO role at the Relevancy Group. Like, how on earth do you try to stay on top of such a broad and dynamic sector?
Yeah, it is always tough, obviously, through a lot of hard work is probably the right answer there. So at the Relevancy Group, we went out to market at least quarterly to survey executive marketers and ask them about their challenges and their requirements and their budgets and the opportunities they were focused on, their priorities. And so we got that data flowing in at least quarterly from a big panel, and ensured the real trick there is ensuring that you got a diversity, you have the right audience there, you have people in all the relevant business verticals, and you have people at the enterprise level as well as mid-market. So kind of ensuring that you have the right audience to kind of survey is critical there. But we used to get the data at least quarterly, and then again work with the vendors on interpreting it, analyzing it, producing white papers and the like.
And white paper's an easy label to throw away, but there's a ton of thought that goes into taking those big inputs and synthesizing and saying, wait a minute, this is happening, and maybe that's going to happen as well.
No, that's right. And oftentimes, we started hypothesis-driven research. We're working with a vendor. We say, okay, advanced personalization techniques, are important. We know this to be true. That's our hypothesis is. Let's ask a bunch of questions to quantify that and figure out, and dig a little deeper. The specific tactics, the requirements, the budgets, the opportunities, challenges, whatever. And so oftentimes we go to a project with that, and then dig deeper, and the data often tell an interesting story.
Tell you where it's going to go.
That's right.
What's the contrast between what you were doing in that role and what some of the sort of big labels in the research space? And I'm automatically thinking of Forrester and Gartner. You were more focused, right?
We were very more focused. Certainly, I think I work with Forrester and Gartner too, and have for much of my career, and have a lot of respect for what they're doing. I think at the Relevancy Group, David Daniels came out of Forrester, so I think a lot of the methodology was similar. I think we were very focused on at first email, and then kind of cross-channel digital marketing. So nothing beyond that, really. Cross-channel digital marketing, ESPs, CDPs, that sort of thing. And then we also had an approach where there were multiple senior analysts working on every project. So we kind of ensured we had a real diversity of opinion on all of our stuff, which we took pride in. But I would say a similar methodology as
Okay.
those guys
Yeah.
in many respects.
Yeah. I've, as like you, I've hit Gartner and Forrester at various points in various jobs, and it's incredibly informative to read their stuff. But it's always funny looking at it from the outside. You're like, wow, like A, how do they keep up? Same question I had for you.
Yeah.
B, wait a minute, they got this completely wrong, which is, maybe
So
you're right.
it happens.
Right, it happens. It's got to happen.
I think it happens. It happens, and sometimes when, and again, when David and I worked together, there was usually a third senior analyst on any project. There was often a diversity of opinion and some discussion back and
a
forth.
Heated discussion ensued, right?
and I think sometimes in some projects with any other potential firms, there is less diversity of opinion. There's kind of one person driving the show, and so there, I know from working in the space a long time, there are vendors oftentimes who feel like the results of those don't accurately reflect.
I like the notion of multiple senior analysts, though, because there are, particularly for niches, let's call email a niche for a second, it sometimes seems like there's one person making the call on behalf of a enormous organization, and like maybe they get it right, and maybe it'd be nice if they argued with someone like you got to.
All right. And I'll tell you, I think very highly of a lot of the folks at both those firms right now who are making those decisions.
Yeah, Sharvan Boskirk, I've read a bunch of her stuff.
She is tremendous.
Yeah,
tremendous. I'm very proud to that Cheetah Digital is a leader in her last.
You are. Nice segue. I was going to take us right back there. I was going to say, give me a bit the contrast from research guy talking to many to getting to deep dive and help influence where an incredibly successful platform is headed at Cheetah Digital.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's very interesting. And I, again, we did a little bit of it at in my previous role and Cheetah Digital and previous to that, Experian Marketing were clients at the Relevancy Group, and so I had some deep insight into the people and process and technology at Cheetah long before I joined, which was one of the reasons, obviously, I joined. But it has been a lot of fun taking that next level, getting that next layer deeper in not only kind of IDing the market requirements, but and the voice of the consumer, but then taking that to the product teams and actually executing across them and taking product to market. So it has been, I think, in many ways, kind of a natural progression. We kind of was doing the work before, again, creating content, influencing the product roadmap, but now getting in the weeds that a little deeper. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Anything particularly surprising? Like, I didn't know this was going to be easy or difficult in that jump over to being really part of that whole team.
It is interesting. We used to run buyer's guides at the Relevancy Group, and I used to think it was really difficult when we got 8-10 vendors responding to these spreadsheets, and I had to analyze those data and make sense of it. On the flip side, when you're filling out just one of those sheets, it is even more time consuming and labor intensive, because you need to do the research to get the correct data. You need to include the right stakeholders internally. You need to then articulate the value prop in 1,000 characters or whatever. We used to put limits on the cells when people are responding to questions. Certainly, and the other firms, Gartner, Forrester, et cetera, do that too. And so you really want to stay within those guides, and it's hard work because you're trying to articulate all the value that you're delivering, but keeping it in 1,000 characters per response. So I think I thought the volume from an analyst perspective was going to be worse than than the filling it out, but it's certainly
Reading is
proven to
hard,
be
so's
helpful.
writing, in other words, right?
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah, and you probably have some multiple stakeholders weighing in because it's incredibly important work for a vendor to to get
No,
themselves represented right accurately.
yep, no, it is, yeah, for sure,
Huh.
critically important,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Well, I mean, you alluded to it, but Cheetah's outstanding placement on Forrester's Wave, is that right? It's the Wave. Like
yeah,
it
yep.
had to be work to get yourself understood well enough to have someone go, these guys are really these guys are nailing it.
It always is. It always is. And they, yeah, always is a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work on the vendor side, and then customer references need to line up.
Right.
You need to have great customer references, and you obviously need to have a compelling demo. And I mean, there's a
Ton of work. Ton of
yeah,
work.
it's hard work.
So we're guilty of doing a little bit of inside baseball right off the bat, and talking into this sort of vendor side of the world. If we have, and I'm sure we do, we've got people in the audience who are enterprise marketers who want to use the machinery to do their job. It's they're not as interested in the mechanics conversation. It's like,
Right.
what do you see on the horizon, or what's Cheetah doing that you can talk about that's got you excited? What's coming down the pipe for digital marketing and then email specifically that's compelling?
Yeah, so I think there's so much compelling. I mean, and I know you've been doing this for a while now. I think it's more exciting now than ever. We've got a lot of compelling stuff happening across our customer engagement suite. Obviously, across channels. So kind of cross-channel nature of email and the programs being able to kind of execute customer journeys wherever that customer is, whether it be email or on their phone in their mobile app or wherever,
Right.
Which is, I think, a big piece. What I'm most excited about, and what I have been kind of in the past several years at the Relevancy Group too, is just data accessibility, the ability to have data at your fingertips and then use it, leverage it to delight customers and drive your business, which I'll tell you, at Real Networks, I had a big list.
Yeah.
And every time I wanted to send a campaign, I wrote a note to my DBA who had to do some SQL and get me an audience. And then we tested some creative and we execute a campaign.
Yeah.
And now we can use machine learning to leverage all your customer data if it's native, and for Cheetah, natively integrated in the customer engagement suite.
Yeah.
And then execute sophisticated cross-channel messaging in real time, high volume, low latency.
Yeah.
With all the personalization and and data. So it's that is suddenly really exciting, right? I mean, batching and blasting a campaign upsell, that took a week to get the audience is
now you can essentially automate it just at your fingertips, real time, right?
It is a whole new world out there with having just all the customer data available. So we're super excited about that. And then I think there's a big move right now in the space towards just transparent, value exchange marketing. People understand they're opting into email programs. They want to ensure they're getting the value back. And we are big proponents at Cheetah in zero-party data, which is a term that Forrester coined, and I like it. But it's data that is given by individuals, full consent with full intention, kind of for personalization purposes. Either
Nice.
Many people think of kind of preference centers as zero party data, but we have a whole product at Cheetah Experiences, which is built in the customer engagement suite, where people can kind of easily launch customer experiences to generate zero-party data to be leveraged ultimately for personalization. So not inferred data, not response data that you've observed and you've kind of made, but actual preference intent data that you've asked consumers about and they've given to you because they want better.
Wow. And thank you. I had not heard the zero party data
I,
phrase
yeah,
before.
it's
Yeah.
not, I like it. Zero first, second, third.
Yeah.
It's a forced return, but is critically important. I think email marketers have known this for a long time. We've often driven people to preference centers, asked them what they want, but it's hard for enterprises to do at scale. And
I was going to ask you because being able to talk about it, being part of a platform like Cheetah Digital is one thing, but you've lived the pain of, oh man, everything's a SQL query, and it's harder to get enthused when things take for bloody ever, and they really stop having any flow, right?
Yep.
It's like everything's a technical obstacle.
Well, no, right, and I think in the old days, email was very siloed too, right? It was we had a campaign calendar and there was other things happening. At Real Networks, it was in-player messaging too.
Right.
We weren't lined up. I think now we're seeing a lot more at the enterprise level, even groups that are more customer centric, and they're looking beyond at a cross-channel model versus just being as siloed. I think there's some work to do there still, but
the customer is called the customer engagement platform. Is that the internal
customer engagement suite? Indeed,
customer engagement suite. So
Yep.
I'm just curious for a VP of marketing, good size enterprise, or CMO, good size enterprise, to take full advantage of that and gain that fluency of conversation relationship with customers. It's a fairly big commitment in terms of all of the data points that need to be talking to and touching your platform.
Always is, and I think for any sophisticated marketer, they got a lot of data coming in. They need to make best use of it. I think for customers of Cheetah customers, the engagement data platform, they can bring in all their customer data from across the enterprise, and then execute that. We have built onto the engagement data platform, again, Cheetah Experiences. We just hit on Cheetah Messaging, which is our kind of what we've been known for in the past, as well as Cheetah Loyalty, which is a full-featured loyalty.
Oh wow, yeah, that makes sense.
Well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so big data infrastructure, high throughput, low latency, and then the ability natively integrated to all those systems where those data can kind of get activated and serve customers kind of across their customer lifecycle. It's big stuff.
That's cool stuff, though. Obviously, the rise and stability of cloud platforms must play a role here in what you've been able to do.
Sure, no, right, and we, Cheetah started out as Cheetah Mail, and then went through Experian and spun out from Experian to then reform as Cheetah Digital. And we love to think of ourselves as a really good alternative to the kind of cloud providers that many of which are not 100% kind of marketer focused and have to allocate resources across the board. And there are also a lot of cool point solutions out there right now too, right? And a lot of exciting tech happening in point solutions. And so we feel like we are really well positioned. In many cases, those point solutions aren't ready or best suited to serve the needs of the advanced, big, sophisticated enterprise. With maybe they have some of the technology, but in many cases not the people and process. We feel like we do got that people process technology that's kind of very well suited in a differentiated, in a marketplace that does include some great cloud players and some cool
I mean,
edge providers.
You've got the technical and marketing background, and I do as well to have watched things kind of stair step forward, like, tech will run out ahead, marketers will take advantage of it, and then that'll happen again. Yeah. How does the CMO keep from having their head explode and being just overwhelmed these days?
You know what? I don't think they don't. Right? I think their heads explode routinely, and I think it's a common tenet that, like, the CEO's tenure is the shortest in the C-suite. I think there's a lot to make sense of, and in many cases, vendors don't do them any service. I wrote the first buyer's guide on CDPs at the Relevancy Group,
right?
And I'll tell you, if you're trying to, what's a CDP and what's a CDP do, and what do I need from a CDP for my programs? That's hard.
What was your answer then? What's your answer now?
It depends. It depends.
It depends, of course. Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah.
But I do think we have a very compelling solution at Cheetah Digital that is much more than a CDP, but only kind of gives marketers what they need from a data perspective. Nice. Oftentimes, CDPs in many cases can be difficult to implement and not necessarily as marketer friendly as they try to.
I mean, they're a heck of a theory, is my read on it.
Oh yeah.
But practice, yeah, it's a bit of a lift, right?
Having the golden record and having all your data in one place, and readily accessible to all channels and all things is compelling.
With a query that doesn't take 48 hours to execute just to find out your name.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It's it. What did you make of Twilio bought a CDP platform a month or two ago? Segment?
They did. Yeah. Great one too. Yeah. And they got SendGrid. They're
that's right. They're tooling up.
It's interesting. Interesting company for sure.
It is. And I've known Twilio as a developer. I've known Twilio for quite a while. It's like, oh, you need to make this thing, make a phone call or send a message. Yeah, just use Twilio. Like, it's just too hard to do it any other way. But right.
It's funny. I had a good friend who was in the legal department, was, I think, assistant general counsel at Twilio, who then left to join Segment, and then
came back.
Was welcomed back with open arms, I'm sure. But that's really, we're going to see a lot more of that.
I think so too. Yeah.
In the space.
Yeah, I think so. I think so as well. And I think the challenge for, a lot of the ESPs, a lot of the email platforms out there is to keep up with the new required level of fluency, fluidity, comprehensiveness. It's a SQL query. You can get your answer next week. I don't see how that cuts it anymore.
No, it doesn't cut it anymore. But and that was a long time ago for sure. But we've taken baby steps, and the data requirements have gone up exponentially, right? Like what I used to need was name, email, some affinity, something, a few different things. Yeah. Now, the data coming in is all the real-time data from where they are on the website. All the, some of our customers are enormous enterprises with big real-time data flowing in, and so the ability to kind of handle that, manage it, and then make sense of that to execute effective campaigns. And
it's not just that the sort of data dimension space is expanding, which it obviously is. It's the timeliness of that. It's like, if you know what I did a month ago, I don't really care.
No, right. Well, and we haven't even talked about the consumer expectation, which is,
crazy.
Right. Right. Yeah. The full real time experience is table stakes. They fully expect that. I mean, it's which.
I'm just curious. It's just occurred to me because we're both in the Northwest, so we've had an armchair seat to the rise of Amazon, and I'm going to guess that, like me, you're probably at least an occasional Amazon customer.
Just occasional.
All the time, right?
Right.
What's your read on their how good's their game, their marketing game?
So good, so good. And we actually covered, the Amazon email service,
Did you? Wow.
and Pinpoint is now, I think, got kind of, I forget what it used to be called, but then it got rolled under their, I believe it's called their Pinpoint solution, which is kind of enables small, medium-sized businesses to kind of do a lot of the personalization
Really?
that Amazon does, right? It kind of
Wow.
exposes some of that stuff. So I think their game is so strong. I mean, so strong. And I will tell you, a year ago, a year and a half ago, when I was at the Relevancy Group, we would, on the list of people to watch, and I think it was David Daniels who put them on the list, was Amazon, because they have some tremendous technology in their arsenal, and obviously it's put to great use internally. Right.
Yeah. It's hard to argue with. It's hard to argue with that level of success. But it strikes me that was it no team bigger than two pizzas, right?
The pizza.
The pizza thing, like that, keeping the teams relatively small to execute quickly. That's got to be daunting if you're in the email and customer communications part of Amazon, because you got inputs from so many places coming at once.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. And it's like the way it changed Seattle. And I know you just you left Seattle after a good number of years there. It's like
but I'm only 26 miles, I think, right now.
Yeah. So still a bit of a difference.
No doubt.
I did want to ask. I'm not sure what fits, and I wanted to ask where text and messaging fit in Cheetah's world right now.
Yeah, so cross-channel, a big piece. SMS, obviously, in-app messaging, natively integrated too with the help of partners too. Critical, and also built into. We just came to market with a personalization solution that includes a journey builder, journey designer type product where you can kind of visually map out journeys, certainly across all channels, SMS, in-app as well, which is, increasingly important, right? I mean, consumers now are interacting with us, across channels.
Yeah, the Omni thing has become real, hasn't it?
It's fully real, right? And we need to be able to acknowledge that and then use those data to react. So obviously increasing importance for retailers, airlines, hotels, everybody.
Everybody. It's going to be interesting, and I'm going to guess it's going to keep evolving fast. What consumers' preferences look like in terms of what various ways they want to be talked to. I'm picky about who I'd let text message me, because I always look when I get the darn thing.
Oh yeah, well, and which is why you better darn be delivering value if you're going to be texting someone, right?
Yeah,
if you're going to be, and if you're going to be interrupting them with an in-app message or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Puts the onus on us as marketers to be much better and use our data more effectively to do that sort of thing. Right.
Wow. Yeah. Back to the marketer for just a second, and it relates to this barrage of channels. The degree of data sophistication that a marketer has to have just seems like a geometrically expanding bubble. Like, you could get away with not really knowing that and let the DBA help you 20 years ago, but you can't play that game anymore, can you?
You can't. Well, and again, we hit on it before. There's just more data coming in than ever before. Literally, we only had a few things at our disposal, and so making use of them was relatively easy. Now, enterprise marketers have much more data than they can effectively manage.
Yeah,
and so making sense of it. Normalizing it, hygiene, making sure that it's good data, right, is more important now than ever before. And so marketers need to be much better about data. yeah. So I think that marketers have had, their data comfort level and their has gone up because I think they need to know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You had to. Yeah. The last guest that I had on for a conversation was from AWeber, which was a whole different conversation to have about the many small businesses they help, and the level of sophistication that a guy running a podcast or something brings to using that platform is one thing, but they have to go up that curve as well. And my guest from AWeber was saying that in some ways they have to do the job of helping them learn the ropes of digital marketing, learn what's meaningful data, learn some of the ethics and permissions that you have to take seriously if you're going to succeed at it. And then at the scale you guys are working with your customers, oh wow.
Yeah, no, right. Well, yeah, our customers often have big regulatory requirements they need to meet. Yeah. We have a lot. Yeah, oftentimes, it is probably less of a kind of an education, and more of a ensuring that we have the flexibility and the again, the people, process, technology to support it, which
right
a differentiator for us for sure.
Oh yeah, I would think so. And I haven't dug into the API docs, but I'm going to guess that that's a critical piece of your story. That as a big company says, you're going to become part of our nervous system. We really need to be able to integrate the organism. You've got an answer to that.
No doubt. And yep, yeah, I invite you to. I'd invite everyone on the podcast too, because we have them fully available for everyone on our CS Help Center. So we can, which we did over the past year. I think they we used to kind of provide them on request, but
turn around in public.
Yeah, making it public is it's.
I have to say,
nothing under the covers.
My hat's off to you, because my team is we've been building our platform, which depends on technical knowledge from ESPs, where we're building solutions that work with them. The ones that have basic documentation behind a locked wall, I want to bang my head on that.
I know, but I can understand it too, because you're right. When you're writing that documentation, you're thinking, this is our stuff, but
sauce,
what you realize is the power is in sharing it and ensuring that
it's a bit the power of open source. And I know we're not talking about open source software, but do I open source my documentation in the sense that at least anybody can read it? Scary, because it looks like you're giving away a lot. Empowering, because the people you didn't expect to use it may show up at the door saying, "Yeah, we're ready to work with you." Right?
Well, that's right. Well, and for us, and I know as former analyst,
sure,
so analysts want to go there and check stuff out, and prospects too, right? If you're a prospect, you want to go, and so making that stuff available is, I think, good stuff. And we try to do that with everything, release notes,
wow. Nice.
all that
nice
stuff.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a visible part, but it's a big burden for a company to take on. Like, just keeping up with your own documentation.
You're talking to the product marketing guy,
right? Incredibly time consuming, and you're chasing the developers who hate writing documentation. Right. It's like, we need to know how this works because somebody else is going to use it, right?
You know the challenge well, Matthew.
You know what I forgot to do? I shouldn't apologize. I'll just say we'll do it now. You game to do a quick speed round?
Yeah.
Speed round. Okay. Cats, dogs, both, or neither?
Both.
Man after my own heart. Coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee.
Yeah, Northwest.
Muckle tea or coffee from Whidbey Island.
There you go. Yeah. We get lucky. Okay. So name a favorite book or author.
Oh, geez. I want to think. I'll go Hemingway. Just
really.
Yeah. I mean, I was Philip Roth.
Philip Roth as well. Bachelor's degree, Kenyon College. So gonna have the lit background. So nice. Hemingway.
I just was reading Hemingway. I just moved out to the country. I was doing some fishing. Yeah, so that came up.
Yeah, and you're a golfer as well, as I recall, right?
I do. I am a golfer. Love golf.
Do you fly fish as well?
I do.
Oh, okay.
I do.
We'll have a whole conversation about that. That's not podcast material.
It was Hemingway Nick Adams stories, and I will tell you, there's some great, great fly fishing up by you. Let's follow.
Yeah, definitely. What was his family? Idaho, right? Hemingway was like where he ended up settling was upper part of Idaho, if I recall right.
Yeah.
That's where Mariel is, the granddaughter.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Talk about fly fishing.
There we go.
Upper Idaho. Last one, so we wrap it up, and I don't tie up your whole day. Like you sort of open everyone's head a little bit about the data opportunities. Practically speaking, for enterprise scale marketers, what's the best way for them to keep up and be more effective at the job they're trying to do?
That's a good question. I got a couple. Stay focused is maybe one. I used to see at the enterprise level, at the relevancy group, a lot of resource allocation in areas that maybe weren't as focused as we could think. I think real-time personalization, advanced personalization is an area where people need to maintain focus. And then I think, breaking down the silos, I hit on earlier, I think we're beginning to work better across at the enterprise marketing department level. We begin to kind of get better about bridging the gaps and bridging the silos, but we still see it. And I think, breaking down the walls, the data silos, helps serve the customer for sure.
I would think that an enterprise that adopts Cheetah Digital is going to have to get over the email. The email guys are over here and do one thing, and the app messaging guys are over here and do a completely different thing, because now all of a sudden they're sharing the same pool.
Oh, no, right. But no, they gotta be swimming together in an ideally synchronized swimming action. With in snowflakes and other things. But they need to. And to be honest, Matthew, right? The customer demands that they are, because if they're not perfectly synced, they're not going to be achieving the business objective, because consumers demand it now, right?
Yeah, for better or worse, as a consumer, I don't care if it's hard, right? I expect you to know that I just bought this, spent X, and asked you that question.
No, right. Especially if I just bought an airline ticket or a hotel reservation or something where I need that, the messaging and the data and to be 100% integrated and hit me at the right moment at the right time. And I expect it, right? If it doesn't, then it's a horror show, quite honestly.
Well, and back to the Amazon conversation for a second, like they may have set that bar high, but tough, right? That's the bar. I'm like, well, of course you know what I bought. Like, duh, right? So don't send me a message selling me a trip on the week that I just booked a trip. That's a good way to lose my business.
No, right. No, exactly. And if my flight changed, I better know about it right now via the channel that I prefer.
Keep all that stuff.
So it's the demands have gone through the roof, and
they have.
The vendors need to obviously step up to the challenge.
Yeah, and the marketers, to be fair to the marketers, right? When they're talking about marketing budget, it's not like, oh, we want to keep doing exactly what we were doing. We just want to have a bigger budget to play with. It's like, no, our job's getting harder.
Job's getting harder.
Yeah.
Job's getting harder.
Yeah,
for sure.
Not going to change.
Job's getting harder.
Judge, but it's also getting more interesting, right?
Most certainly. And let me tell you, I think the victory is that much sweeter in that, the percentage of revenue being driven through some of these email programs today is orders of magnitude greater than it used to be.
Interesting.
Big brands are driving big hunks of revenue. And at the Relevancy Group, we published stats around 20%, I think was maybe 2018 was the last time we published that stat. But and that number, I'll tell you, is valid and potentially, has grown since then. I think big programs are driving a big piece of their business through email.
Well, that's a set of relationships that doesn't have someone else in the middle.
Yep.
Right? That if you've tracked that controversy, Facebook, Google, and the Australian government going head to head, but Facebook accidentally wiped out some pages. It's like, oh, I guess we didn't own those. I guess you guys owned those.
I guess you owned them, right?
Ouch. Yeah, and I'm sorry, no thanks.
No, right. No, and that's a big, a big public story, a big story. Brands for years have dealt with that.
Oh, sure. From
any walled garden of sort, right? Any of those.
Any walled garden, right? Which, for better or worse, email, messaging, the stuff that Cheetah Digital is covering, like you're facilitating those rich, direct relationships. That's a cool space to play in.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thanks so much. I'm delighted you made the time to come aboard. It's a great conversation.
Matthew, pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. It really was a pleasure.
Cool. And I will we'll send you the video.